Okay, so Riverbed, your 2025 research shows that while AI investments nearly, I think, doubled year on year, only 12% of organizations seem to have sort of fully deployed AI across IT operations. Did you have any sort of view as to the reasons for this gap between the investment and the implementation? Um, and I know there's sort of quite a lot of stories or surveys suggesting that people are not getting what they th hoped out of AI. So are enterprises getting any closer, if you like, to making AI work?
Yes, exactly. So that's what we're seeing, right? In this survey that we ran this year, a very similar survey that we ran last year. So we were able also to compare the trajectory that's being taken by companies. So we're seeing a lot of energy, right? A lot of ambition around AI. Everyone is talking about it. Budgets are growing, but really moving from pilots to full-scale production is proven much harder than expected. So yeah, most of these projects are still small in scope, more like proof of concept, right, than enterprise-wide transformations. In fact, it's only 36% of organizations that feel ready to operationalize their AI initiatives today. And here's something interesting. So last year, 86% of respondents said they'd be fully ready to deploy AI at scale by 2028, right? This year, that number hasn't changed. So it suggests a kind of circular optimism, right? There's the intent is here, but turning this strategy into operational capabilities is a real challenge, right? So the gap is about technology, but it's not just that. So our research points to a mix of problems. So there's a problem of data, so fragmented or poor quality data. While we know data is critical to AI, and we can talk more about that. Um, Governance is challenging, finding and applying a governance framework. There's a shortage of the required skills for rolling out these AI projects. And then infrastructure isn't really optimized for the amount of data that these tools generate. So organizations expect these tools to run seamlessly across networks, but that can't necessarily handle yet this massive data flows. And then a last point that's important is, and this is a difference from this year, where we asked not only business executives about the state of AI, but also technical experts. And we saw a clear, persistent misalignment between leadership confidence and technical readiness. So there's about a 16-point gap between what executives believe
Hmm.
of their readiness and what's happening on the ground. So it's 42% versus 25%, so 16, 17%. So leaders see the promise of AI. They see better productivity, improved customer experience, faster decisions, right? Um, but clearly, they often underestimate the complexity of deploying that at scale, right? So while technical teams, but they're dealing with the plumbing issues firsthand, right?
Yeah, I mean, so you've highlighted a sort of range of potential barriers, or at least sort of bottlenecks. I think the data one's probably worth following up because seems to be a big barrier to AI success. And I think that your research identifies that under half organizations are confident that their sort of data is accurate, complete, sort of AI ready, if we say that. And in terms of the problems, I mean, you can perhaps say more, but I think relevance, consistency, security perhaps summarizes it best. But um, again, perhaps you can compare with what you found last year, and of what's going wrong or what the challenges with data. Is there one that's proving particularly sort of hard to crack compared to the others? Or just yeah, characterize where we are, I suppose, with data being AI ready or not, as the case may be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, data quality remains really the biggest hurdle for AI adoption, right? So AI systems use and learn from the data they're fed, right? So if that data is not complete, is not accurate or biased, well, the model uses that, right? So it will inherit those flows, and it's going to really affect the outcome. So it's a classic, garbage in, garbage out principle, right? So even AI can't really fix bad data. So it is the main problem. So we've seen some improvement since last year, but progress is really slow. It's the needle's moving, but not as much as we'd like to. So last year we had 69% of organizations expressing concerns about the effectiveness of their data, right, for AI. So this year we are at 54% saying they're not fully confident. So there's improvement. So it's just probably not as fast as we'd like. So yeah, so in detail, last year we had about 4 in 10 people that rated their data as excellent for completeness and accuracy. And this year the numbers are around about the upper mid 30s. So not really going the direction we want. Security and protection are slightly better, so there's improvement in that direction. But really the hardest gap to close is the consistency and integrity of the data, right? So there's a struggle there with fragmented data, fragmented processes to collect this data, lack of standardization, governance. So until these are really in place, having clean, consistent, complete data and sorted the governance, these are really kind of the foundations for delivering on AI, really.
Okay, one other fairly I don't know, it's starting or at least sort of impressive sort of stat in the survey was that the average enterprise is using about 13 observability tools across 9 vendors. So I think tool sprawl is the common name for that, isn't it? But
Mhm.
um, I know that the survey suggests that all are planning to consolidate over the next year, but perhaps you can say a bit more about why tool vendor sprawl is such a major obstacle when it comes to the AI-driven IT operations, and how easy is it, and in what ways can organization rationalize, but they obviously don't want to lose critical visibility. So how do they go about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, imagine the 13 tools,
Mm.
9 vendors. It's almost impossible to manage, first of all,
Yeah.
right? It's really a headache in terms of administration. It drives costs up. It demands extra resources overall. For IT teams, it pretty much so it's picturing a fragmented ecosystem, really, with duplicated information, maybe contradicting information, alert fatigue. So that creates noise, which can lead to really missing the point, right? Missing big problems, missing business impact in some cases, and degraded digital experience overall. So that's the first problem. But then the bigger issue is that this also affects AI efforts, because when you have multiple tools, multiple vendors, so you create this fragmented data set, right? Fragmented processes, fragmented even accountability, right? So AI thrives on complete data, consistent. The context is very important. So when you have these gaps, the loss of context, right? That really affects the insights you're getting from your AI, right? So that's why consolidation is such a priority. In fact, moving to a unified platform, consolidating these tools is probably a very relative easy way to reduce spend, first of all, right? But also to strengthen the support for these AI operations, right? So it eliminates tools, silos, and it really empowers your AI with the proper insights and enable the automation you're expecting.
And in terms of other bits that were sort of certainly sort of came to my attention from the survey, I think there's something around the fact that nearly all IT leaders are saying or committing to sort of open telemetry as a sort of foundation for their observability strategy. So perhaps you can tell us a bit more about why OTel is a priority for them, and what can organizations do? What's the approach to transition to sort of open unified telemetry frameworks?
Yeah, indeed. So it's not a real surprise because at Riverbed we saw it coming, but the magnitude of it was interesting. So OpenTelemetry has become a priority because it offers a standardized, a vendor-neutral way to achieve visibility across, the most complex IT environments. Many consider OTel as a key enabler for AI deployments because it provides this common framework for gathering telemetry data. So it improves interoperability, it improves data quality overall, and all this is really critical in supporting AI tools, right? For them to work really effectively. So it makes sense. But then there's a warning here as well, right? So because these capabilities, because it makes it very easy to collect any type of data from any source of data, that's the volume of telemetry generated can easily overwhelm the infrastructure if organizations are not very cautious. So it's not about collecting everything, right? It's about collecting what matters. Otherwise, you might just be swapping, data fragmentation to congestion, right? Data congestion. That's an issue. So that's where we have a smart approach at Riverbed. So what we are recommending is leveraging our smart hotel approach. That instead of just feeding out all the raw data through these hotel collectors, we are using intelligence to surface only the data that is relevant to the specific use case that you're implementing, the specific events you're looking at. So once there's this alert that is triggered, only the pertinent data is exported from our data store to a standard hotel format so that any hotel collector can get it. So that the advantage is it reduces noise, right? It keeps it very relevant and sharp in terms of data, and then it prevents any network impact.
Okay, and I think the survey findings also highlight the importance of network performance. I mean, we've talked about that, and I think data readiness, we've touched on that already. I think they're fairly critical to enable AI. And I guess in the sort of world we live in where we've got hybrid and multi-cloud environments, that sort of becomes even more important. So do you have any thoughts as to how organizations can set about sort of modernizing networks and data architectures to help them become AI ready or optimize their sort of AI model performance? What sort of things do they need to be doing?
Yeah, so I mean it's a very good topic because as we realizing the performance of AI isn't just about compute power or the kind of advanced LLM you are using, but it's constrained to a large amount by the network and data architecture, right? So where the data lives and how it moves is critical as well, right? So our survey shows some interesting trends. We are seeing cloud storage and cloud computing that continues to grow. Oh, that's pretty obvious. On-prem data is shrinking from 23% to 17% in the next few years. Again, it's a trend we've seen, right? But it's confirmed. What is more interesting is to see edge computing that is rising sharply, right? So from about 9% today to 13%, I believe, in the next few years. So that's interesting. So that makes your data even more distributed than ever. And it's constantly moving, right? The data constantly moving between these different points across the internet. So that makes the network absolutely critical to this operation. Reliability and security can become bottlenecks, just even probably more than processing speed itself. So what does it mean? So that means that, if you want a modern network that can really, serve these AI capabilities, be AI ready, you need to create an intelligent, a network that is intelligent to create adaptive pathways for the data to maintain this data fidelity. And speed, maintain data and fidelity and speed between all these elements, between the edge, between the core, and between the network, right? Network acceleration can help as well to, reduce latency and facilitate data movement between these different points. So these are two different concepts. But then above all, a first step in building this kind of network is to include unified observability, because that gets you a comprehensive view of the network, of performance bottlenecks, right? You can layer AI ops on top of that, using AI agents more and more to automate things. So that gives you this continuous visibility on performance, detecting issues, and automating remediations as you're picking up issues. So that would definitely improve the flow of data that is required by AI.
Okay, and another sort of interesting finding in the research, I think, is that about 2/3 of organizations say that unified comms tools are essential when it comes to sort of operating effectively. But the downside is that they're also a leading source of help desk tickets. So, something's not quite working, I suppose. How's Riverbed addressing those sort of visibility challenges? And maybe sort of part two, how does improving, unified comms performance tie into the sort of overall digital experience?
Yeah, so that was an interesting topic as well. So the survey shows that employees are spending on average 42% of their work week on platforms like us, like Zoom and Teams. So that means nearly half their time depends on these tools working flawlessly, right? So when you think about it, so downtime for these tools is not just a inconvenience; it's really a business risk, right? So that said, these tools are the number one source of IT headaches, right? It's 15% of all help desk tickets that are UC related. That's a lot. And then on average, it takes 43 minutes to solve a ticket. 1 in 5 is taking more than an hour to fix. So that's a huge drain on productivity and the cost associated in supporting that as well. So it's a major frustration for end users. So yeah, that's the impact. Now, the root cause of that is I think really simple. It's just poor visibility in terms of what the challenge is, right? It's a great example of how the lack of clarity on the data impacts employee experience. Not saying it's easy, because it's actually super challenging for teams, but that's the culprit here, right? So when you have a problem with Teams or Zoom, your call drops, right? So the problem could be anywhere. It could be your laptop's Wi-Fi, it could be your home broadband, could be the VPN connection if you're using that, the internet, something's wrong, right? On the maybe Microsoft side of things, if you're using Teams, some configuration on the OS, on the applications, on the peripheral connected. So it's really incredibly distributed and challenging. So what do you need to do that? You need high resolution data, right? You need, if possible, real-time data for every point in this chain, right? From the endpoint, from the different network segments involved, from the SaaS platform itself. So that's what we do, right? That's what we deliver. We provide end-to-end visibility, collecting data from these points, feeding that into our AIOps platform, and that allows you to detect issues, analyze issues, possibly automate remediations if we can do it, in order to accelerate issues resolution and getting the employees the experience they're expecting.
Okay, and I guess sort of a final point from the survey. I think you highlight that most companies are still sort of experimenting rather than scaling when it comes to AI. And I think as little as 10% say they've achieved AI operations maturity. So again, do you have any advice or sort of do's and don'ts when it comes for folks being able to get to a place where they can deliver AI value in IT operations, whether that's, in the short term or over a longer period of time? How can they get there?
Yeah, so some best practice we saw from our customers and that survey is first to get the foundations right, right? There's a focus on there should be a focus on data readiness, network capabilities. So these are very often overlooked because they're not necessarily, sexy. They're not about, the type of advanced LLM you're going to use, but it's the foundation. It's really absolute non-negotiable. Then best practice is to take small steps, right? Don't try to boil the ocean, really, but achieve success with these small initiatives like we discussed, tools, consolidation, implement hotel, maybe put some simple AI ops in place, because that creates relatively quick ROI, and that building up on that, you can get momentum. You're learning about what bottlenecks you had that demonstrates the value. So that would lead to success of more complex AI deployments. Another thing is to be able to measure outcomes, right? So you really want to be clear upfront on what AI success will be measured, right? So you need to define the metrics, whether it's efficiency on some workflows, maybe you're targeting specific savings through this project. You may want to work on improving CSAT scores. We have a lot of customers working on that. So whatever you do is you need to define it, right? These metrics, track it, and then hold the project accountable to it, right? And then I'd say in the don't is probably the big one is the misalignment that we mentioned. This 16-point difference between what the C-suite think and people on the ground think about their readiness. So that you need to really ensure this full buy-in, right? So the having the leaders set the vision, that's fine, but they should not expect miracles overnight, right? Without the necessary fundings or the foundational work in place to really achieve their objective. So that is really key for success.
Excellent. Thanks for that. And maybe just in finishing, it would be good to understand anything you can share. Obviously, I know Riverbed is very busy. Hardly a week seems to pass when I haven't, there's some new news about what you're up to, but are you able to share anything on the roadmap? 2026 isn't too far away, I guess, in terms of where you might be, sort of focusing your efforts or just what's going to be going on at the company.
Yeah, no, sure, absolutely. Yeah. So if we look back just a little bit, so a few years back, we started setting the strategy for Riverbed as around our platform, right? So instead of having these point tools, we build this platform around them, but with integration, being open, applying AI on top of all the data sources. So that's a solution that we saw in 2024. So we saw the first versions of that, and customers started using it. 2025, this year, we had a lot of enhancements on the platform. You saw that. So we had maybe four, I think, product launches. In April, we had new capabilities for unified communication, for instance, for real-time call quality monitoring. We introduced a partnership with Intel. We have new unified agents for monitoring, even down to packet level details on endpoints, merging all this into our AI platform. We introduced our GenAI agent, IQ Assist. We also announced in October recently some use cases around self-servicing, something that's very, very appreciated from customers. So the ability to empower end users with this AI digital experience monitoring based capabilities to fix problems automatically on their own. Also empowering the IT support teams with these AI-based capabilities, analysis, and remediations. So there was a lot of innovation in 2025. We're continuing that in 2026. Our roadmap is pretty much AI driven, so leaning on these new products, introducing more simplicity in some of these workflows. Also enhancing predictions. Predictive AI is going to be onboarded in a lot more of the tools. Agentic AI is going to be a big one. So we started showing some examples of how we are leveraging agentic AI. So that's going to be a more generic framework for leveraging this kind of very, very powerful technology. So we bring all these technologies to help our customers with their transformation projects and maximize their AI investments, really.
Okay, I hope you get time to have a holiday every now and then as well, because it sounds like you're going to be very busy into the future as well. But no, seriously, it's been fantastic to chat, Nicolas, and thank you so much for sharing the insights as to the research and your thoughts as to AI more generally. So really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Philip.